Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to the channel. And the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Sipping on my cappuccino, it's early morning. And you know, it's August 31st. So here in Montreal, you can see that slowly the weather is turning. The days are getting shorter. The low temperatures are cooler and the highs are cooler. We're getting some rain. It's Labor Day weekend, and it's unfortunate because I was hoping to get in 4 days of golf. It's raining Friday, going to rain Saturday, so we're hoping that Sunday today will give us a chance to get out there. It looks so good so far. It's early now. I plan to be on the golf course in just a few hours, and tomorrow looks good as well. So, you know, one last stint before the grind starts again in September. The traffic gets thicker, etc., etc. So things are turning, and some people might say, you know, this is kind of a depressing sort of a denouement. You know, we have after summer, everything's quieter, everything's a little more relaxed, and now autumn kicks in. It's like your gears are going up to fourth, fifth gear. But that's when our pen collection comes in to save us, I think, at least in my case. Autumn is a lot of fun for me. One, because we got lots of products coming in. And, you know, on a rainy day, there's nothing like sitting on my desk or behind my console here and playing with my pens, my inks, my paper, and enjoying my collection. So there's the bad news, and then there's the good news. And this week, I got to tell you, things are picking up. Things are picking up. We're going to get there eventually. I think the wheels are turning, so to speak. And without any further ado, we've got lots of stuff for you. Here is Fountain Pen Therapy's weekly recap for August the 31st, 2025. Okay, so we're back. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time and don't know the concept of this weekly recap, let me summarize it for you very quickly. It's in the description of this video. But having said that, what we like to do typically every week, now not every month, every week, and almost every week, is I take a look at what's new in the market in terms of inks, writing instruments, and paper. We then take a look at what's new in my studios. What have I got in terms of novelties? Did I order anything? Did I receive anything? Have I picked up on something that's novel for my collection, be it in paper, ink, or writing instruments? We then take a look at any pen haul that I may have, any paper haul, if I bought any new paper, or introduce a new paper, along with some inks, either recently purchased or inks that I have in my collection. I have over 600 bottles, so I got plenty to show you. And we do some ink swatching, we do some writing, test those new pens, test that new paper, and then we'll take a look at my currently inked pens that I have in my pen case, for last week, and we're going to decide what pens I'm going to be putting in that case for the upcoming week. We then take a look at questions and answers and commentary from any of my viewers or anything interesting that may be relevant to our community. And lastly, I finish off with a YouTube review, show you the reviews and the videos that I published the week prior, and maybe some other interesting reviews or videos that deal with our hobby done by others that I think are interesting and worthy of mention. So there you have it. That kind of summarizes for you what this recap is all about. Some people do things currently inked as one video and etc. We do it all together. We put it all together. It's timestamps. It's meant to be consumed slowly or with some popcorn. It's like a movie. You sit down and you try to enjoy it. That's the concept, and hopefully it will serve a purpose. So there you have it. So without waiting any longer, let's deal with the first section of the recap, which is what's new in the market. And typically we always start out with the Chinese market and take a look at, of course, AliExpress, which is the main driver of that market, if you will. So let's look at what's new. Here we go. Okay, first of all, I noticed this ad, and you can miss it if you flinch, but 2025 Suying new style flexible nib calligraphy. Now if you turn on the video, and I invite you to do so, you'll see that this nib's got some flexibility to it. So it's raising my curiosity. Of course, I don't like the price at $50. I'm not sure what that nib is going to do, but it's something that you should take a look at if you're interested, and it's new. Next thing, what do we have? Oh, I saw this ASVINE 24 pen slot pen case organizer. As you can see, it looks really nice, and it looks like it can accommodate some of the larger pens. You've got a variety there of ASVINEs, which are good sized pens, and they look like they're sitting there nicely. So that may be something that's interesting. I also like the concept where you don't have to always lift the clip into the sleeve, and sometimes that's a pain for these type of pen cases. This one doesn't. You just slip it in. It's got to cover a flap here so that the pens don't rub onto each other. It comes in gray or in blue. So for those of you who want to keep all your pen collection in one or two of these pen cases at $30 Canadian, which is roughly what, $20 US, I think it may be worthwhile. What else do I've got for you? Oh, ADMOC M800. They've come out with a new series of pens that have this gold motifs on the barrel. For those of you who have not yet jumped to ADMOC, I really recommend it. It's a pen that looks suspiciously like an M800 from Pelikan. It's got some very nice nibs with the Schmidt nibs, or you can accommodate ADMOC nibs or the Bach nibs. So it gives you quite a bit of selection. You've got fine, medium, and broad. So it's something to look at if you have not yet added this to your collection. What else have I got? This is the M1000. Now, I don't believe I have an M1000. I thought I'd share that with you. But for those of you who've seen my videos or my recaps, you know that particularly in Japan, there is this new craze with wooden pens or wooden instruments, be it pencils, mechanical pencils, ballpoints, roller balls, or fountain pens. And so when I saw this, it kind of attracted my attention. I don't believe I have the Majon M1000, and it comes in different types of wood. You got the darker woods here, and the lighter one that interests me. It comes with a Bach fine nib. So that may be something that I might be adding to my collection, and I thought I'd share that with you. Speaking of wooden barrel pens, I have another one for you, which is this Benovel F317 at $25. Looks like an interesting offering. And it comes in either fine or medium, but I'm curious, this medium is a 0.8. I've never seen 0.8. I've seen 0.7, but not 0.8. And in any event, it's kind of raised my curiosity, and at 25 bucks Canadian, I may actually order that, and if I do, I will let you know. KIMBOR. Now, no, that's not what I wanted to share with you. Right. So in terms of a paper, as you know, the craze now is going to be to get in all your planners for the 2026 season, and Hobonichi is front and center everywhere. You've got to pre-order, and they're going to have kind of a big splash. I recommend the site of Stilo Stile. It's got them all there, and I know that some of you are really interested. Unfortunately, as you can see, this is a great price actually for Hobonichi cousin for the entire year at 45 euros, which is roughly 46, 47 US. Problem is that by the time you include shipping, custom duties, it goes up. But here in Canada, they're selling for like $85, $90, which I find exorbitant. And I don't know how tariffs are going to influence all these prices, especially for our folks in the US. But those of you who are interested, you see that the Hobonichi 2026 line is coming out. But as an alternative, what I propose is that you take a look at AliExpress and do a search under Tomoe River paper, and you're going to see the KIMBOR products, and we'll take a look at those products in a second. And I plan to do maybe I'm going to sacrifice $85, get an Hobonichi 2026, and maybe we'll do a detailed comparison with the KIMBOR, which is much, much cheaper. I got to tell you, you can get a KIMBOR equivalent at about $35, $40 Canadian, which is half the price of Hobonichi, and in my view, it serves exactly the same purpose. I've been using KIMBOR now for the last 2 or 3 years, but we'll get into that, and maybe we'll do a standalone video to go through all of that, especially given that it's the season. Having said that, let's move away from paper. Let's go to Goulet pens. Goulet pens, first of all, in terms of inks, I noticed there's Jacques Herbin has come out with the two new anniversary inks, the 1798 series and the 1670. It's got the Opale Nocturne, which looks like a very interesting shimmering light blue ink, and a darker blue in Dieman bleu for the 1798 series. So recommend, coming soon, and I've seen them being advertised in several sites. Goulet pens, also, if you look at their new arrivals, it's a fun site because it gives them to you. You just click new arrivals and you see them all. For those of you who like TWSBI, TWSBI's come out with a new 580 ALR in this kind of toffee or coffee brown version. I noticed Platinum Curidas, there's a new version that's out as well. And I invite you to take a look at the rest. There's some interesting new offerings there in terms of ink, paper, and pens, which is always very interesting. One site that I always omit to mention and that I visit regularly is Pen Realm. And one of the main reasons for my interest in Pen Realm is that they have a section, and I just want to, oh no, this is Gold Spot, I'm sorry. Gold Spot, they've got some new Ferris wheel inks. You got a new Conklin primary manipulation pen. Those pens, you know, are gorgeous pens, but they just dry up on me. And I'm just staying away from them, unfortunately. Navlor has come out with a new Nautilus. You can take a look at those. There's 3 new offerings there. So that's Gold Spot. What else have I got for you? Yeah, here's Pen Realm. One of the main reasons for my interest in Pen Realm, I mean, they have new pens, but they also have a section on pre-owned fountain pens. And sometimes you can get a really good deal on a used pen that you may want to add to your collection. So I invite you to take a look. They got quite a few, and it's something you should kind of check on a weekly basis, and you'd be surprised. You can find some very, very interesting, offerings there. So there you have it. That's what's new in the market for me. At least that's what's caught my interest. And stay tuned for the next section of this video. Be right back. Okay, for the next section, we're going to take a look at what's new in the Fountain Pen Studios. What have I got for you? What have I pulled out of my hat, or what I have purchased and what has been delivered? So we'll take a look at that. So we'll go to my over at camera, and I'll show you what I've got for you. Here we go. Quite a few products here, and we're going to go through them one at a time, and I'll show you what I think is really worthy of mention. First of all, there's this. Came in bubble wrap from AliExpress. Now, you guys, if you've seen my video this week, I published it. It's the new Montefiore 845. It is a clone of the Pilot Custom Marucci 845. I think it's an excellent, excellent pen. In the video review, for those, and I'll post it down in the description, for those of you who haven't seen it, I go through a nib swapping, because it comes with a kind of a pretty generic standard Chinese nail, which writes very well, by the way. But I figured I'd give you some alternatives, and you can see that that section kind of accommodates pretty well a variety of number 6 size nibs. So you can pick and choose whichever one suits your fancy. I've got in right now a Kegaloo Medium, which is a gusher, one of the smoothest nibs I find in the market. So that's the Pilot Custom Marucci clone, that is. No, what we'll do is we'll put it back in its sleeve, put that aside. What else I've got? Okay, we'll take this ASVINE box, put that aside for a second, along with this one. These 3 products are, in fact, you'll recall that I've been on a hunt lately to try to find the best dip pen for my swatching. And I got a bunch here, and I kind of tried them all out, and I figured I'd give you the benefit of my thoughts. We're going to kind of do a video reviewing each one of them and the pros and cons of each, and how they fit in, and whether they can suit your purposes. These are a bunch, and I may have more in my collection. So we're going to pull all those out, and in order to be complete, I figured I add 3 more products. This one here, bought on AliExpress, is a glass pen. Now, most of my other glass pens, unfortunately, I have chipped the tips. And one of my viewers mentioned to me that I probably did this way. I usually have a jar of water where I wash out my nib as I change inks. And if you bang, accidentally, that very fine glass nib on that glass jar, you'll find that you'll chip your nib. So he recommends that when I use glass pens, I use a jar that's in plastic, which makes perfect sense. So you either be very, very careful or change up the jar. So I ordered another one, and what I like about this one is the way it fits into my hands like a real pen. Nibs like glass pens like this are a real pain, where they've got all this decorative shape, but very difficult to write with, I find. So this one is made in glass, not plastic. So I've added this one, and we'll add that to the comparison video. Secondly, on AliExpress, there is a nib that is a clone or inspired by the Kakamori. This is the original Kakamori, and the other one is the AliExpress Chinese version. So I'm going to compare the original Kakamori with this Chinese version. Colorverse has also come up with their own version. It's a Colorverse shuttle right here. Where did it go? There it is. Sorry about that. It's kind of stuck in there. Okay, so as you can see there, they've got slightly different shapes, but it's really the same principle, just a big metal brass nib, and they come in different materials with these slots, which are meant to gather the ink and store it, and then, of course, with the capillary action, you can write with them. So these three, we're going to compare them and see which one does the best job, if you will. And we'll do a detailed comparison of that. But for those of you who are not interested in that, but would like to see how these three new editions work, why don't we... where is my pen holders? I should have a few here. Yeah, right here. So we'll take the Chinese Kakimori clone, put in that one. This is the Colorverse. Oh, that's not, there we go. Fits in nicely. And we'll take my glass pen as well. Get a notepad ready for you. And this is Tomo River paper. I would just kind of do just a very quick writing sample. I'm just curious to see how these pens or these nibs write. Now, let me keep my jar here. I'm going to take also a towel. Put those aside. Now, you'll remember that recently I've added, where is it? Because of a very kind viewer send me this Sailor Okoro, but with the feed. And so far I found that this really does the trick. So this is the Sailor Okoro. Forgive the misspelling if I don't have it right. What I like about this is that it's a stub. So when I do my swatching and identify the, let me just close up here, and identify the ink, because of the line variation, it kind of gives me a very good idea of what that ink is all about. So that's I think, one of the rivals, one of the comparative additions, or one of the nibs that I'm going to add to that comparative video that I received recently. Let's take a look at this. Be very careful. I don't want to chip it even before the video. So this is just a glass pen. I don't believe it had any branding of any sort. Gotta tell you, not bad. Be very careful. I have my glass jar. Here we go. We cleaned that off. This is the Colorverse. Well, actually, we should take this is the Kakimori. Actually, you know what? I'll reserve that for my comparison. Let's just do a quick dip of this Colorverse shuttle. I don't know if you can see that, but this is very encouraging, very nice. Good. I think it's going to rival the Kakimori. The last one is this Chinese clone. So I'm just going to, I mean, there is a branding on the box, Idea Plus, but I'm just going to call it the Chinese clone of Kakimori. Kakimori or Kakimori, I forget now. There you go. Very different sensation, one from the other, compared to the shuttle, but interesting, and I think it will make a fun video. So there you have it. That's just a very quick preview of what's to come and what arrived in my studios this week in terms of dip pens. Okay, let's put that aside. Now, you did see this little box. Now, I mentioned to you that when I ordered and received this pen, which is the Leonardo Ebonite pen, to my great surprise, it had a number 8 steel nib, which is very rare in our market. And I think there's a new wave here. I think Leonardo is going to probably include that option in its option for nibs. So you'll have the steel number 6, you'll have the steel number 8, then you'll have the gold 14 karat number 6, and you'll have the gold 14 karat number 8. The beauty of these number 8 steel is that the price is just in between. And I find that they've got it, but I think, and I didn't do a market study, but my feeling is that the Chinese market has pushed them to do that. Why? Because the Chinese market now, I don't know if you notice, folks, there's more and more reviewers discovering ASVINE and Mahjong and Wing Sung, and they all have number 8 nibs, steel nibs. So I figured I'd do a video comparing them all. And because of that, I went on the hunt for all the steel number 8 nibs that I was missing. And I figured that I would include in the mix some Indian nibs. So I ordered what was described on Kiwi Pens as number 8 nibs. And one of the viewers warned me that I was going to be disappointed, and he was absolutely correct. Number 8, I guess, in India doesn't really mean number 8 in North America, because take a look at these nibs. They're very small. They are not what I was expecting. I ordered a bunch, and they sent me a bunch as well. But these are far from being number 8 nibs. If you compare it to, let me get that Leonardo again. Where is it? Where did I put it? Here we go. I mean, there's no comparison. And I'm wondering if this is even, in fact, if I take a number 5 nib, and I think I've got one. No, I don't. I don't have one near me. Do I have a number 6 nib? I think so. This is a generic Jinhao. As you can see, similar sizing, if not even smaller, because then, the collar here is short. I'm wondering whether or not this is like a 5.5 or a 6 at best. It doesn't look like a 7, but it's far from being an 8. So I'm not sure there are any what I would consider number 8 nibs in the Indian market. If any of you do know, there's number 9 nibs in that big mammoth, Canwright mammoth, but I'm not sure that there's true number 8 size nibs in the Indian market. But if you do know of any, please let me know. Send me a comment, and I'll order it, so I'll include it. Make sure to include it in my video. So there you have it. Well, what I think I'm going to do, I'm not sure yet, but I'm still taping this, so I may include this in a pen or two and maybe do some ink sampling or some writing sampling just to show you how these nibs are. I'm sure they're fine. I think they're Canwright. I'm sure they're nice nibs. They're just not number 8 sized. Okay. Now, next is this ASVINE box. Now, what does this ASVINE box contain? Now, for those of you who follow the Chinese market, you'll know that there's not really any new ASVINE models out, at least none that I know of. But there is a new offering from ASVINE, and this is always a problem with ASVINE pens, is that the box is hard to move, and you always end up breaking it, and the interior box is hard to get out. So here it is. Here's the pen. Now, some of you might say, well, that's familiar. Yes, it's familiar. It's the P20. So nothing new there. I got this green because I didn't have that in my collection, so it's kind of Now I think I have every color available for P20. But what's novel, as I mentioned to you in a previous recap, is this 1.1 stub. Take a look at that, folks. Yeah, they've added the 1.1 stub to their number 6 steel nib offerings. Of course, they had the number 8 1.1, but this is the 1.1 in number 6 size. It looks like it's a nice cursive italic or a cursive stub, but we will do a quick writing sample, probably add it to when we look at pens for next week. I may add this one to the list. Now you should know that it's also offered with the P36, that demonstrator, and offered with the vacuum 126. I mentioned to you last week that for some reason, I don't know why, the V126, which I wanted to get with that 1.1 stub, was only offered on Amazon.com, which is the US site, and it didn't allow me to order because it said that it didn't deliver to my my address. But maybe ASVINE was listening, because ASVINE sent me an email and said, look, we're going to send one to you, a V126, for review purposes. So I should be getting that sometime soon. I just got the tracking information. When I do, we'll ink it up and we'll include it in maybe one of my next recaps. And maybe I'll do a comparison with the stub coming out of this Chinese pen with other stubs. And we'll think about that. We're working on it. So that's the new offering from ASVINE. We'll ink that up and we'll do some writing in just a few minutes. So that's it in terms of pen haul or writing instruments. I do have some inks that I want to propose for you for our ink swatching session, which coming up. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I got some new paper to propose for you. So let's take a look at what my paper haul was for this week. Okay, mentioned to you Kakimori, correct? Well, let me go to my overhead camera. We'll yeah, here we go. Okay, let's push that aside. Not Kakimori, KIMBOR, sorry. KIMBOR products with Tomo River paper. This is the 2025 agenda that I had, which is very nice. Never used it. I bought it because it was on special, and I'm just going to use it regardless of the dates, just for my journaling, okay? So that's the 2025. It comes in black. It comes in this decorative red version, and I just noticed there is a pink version as well. So I ordered this red one for 2026, and this one caught my eye as well. It's kind of a square notebook. I don't have one in my collection, so I figured I'd add to it. This one here, the KIMBOR 2026 agenda, will reserve for that comparison that I propose for you. So we're not going to open that one up for today. But this one we will. I'm curious to see how the paper reacts, what kind of paper we have. So let me take it out of its sleeve. First thing I notice is that it has its own plastic cover, which is interesting. There's the KIMBOR logo. It has KIMBOR creation in the back. Let's just open it up. This is a kind of a makeshift calendar. You could accommodate it depending on the year. So it doesn't, it's not specifically for any year. You add it, and then I guess you accommodate the days of the week, and then the rest is done for you. So you've got different schedules and different formats at the beginning, which is typical of these types of planners. And you can see empty monthly calendars that you can fill in the dates as, and then you get into what comprises most of this notebook, which is on the left side you have these two huge rectangular spaces with no grids of any sort. It's just plain. And then on the right side, you have this graph grid, grid lines with, and you can put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, depending on the weekend. I guess you can add the date here. It has a place for adding the date if you want to turn it into a date calendar. And this goes on for quite a bit for the rest, most of the notebook. At the end, what I notice is that there are cutouts, square cutouts. I'm not sure, they don't look like labels. I'm not sure how that would work, but it's kind of cutouts there. What I think I'm going to use this for perhaps is, or what could be interesting is you could swatch your inks on the left side, and you could have probably as many as you wish, really, and with a description on the right side of how these inks react, and if you want to give them a kind of a detailed review, that could be somehow some way of playing around with this. But having said that, we'll do some writing on this. We'll do some swatching. We'll compare it to Touma River Original, and that will be the notebook to be reviewed for this week. There you have it. That's the paper. Next, let's look at what inks I propose for you, and we'll do some relaxing ink swatching. Okay, so we're back with ink swatching, and I figured I'd show you, this is my collection of Robert Oster inks that I've, for some reason, neglected for many, many years, I would say to you. I believe I've not inked a pen with this ink, with any of these inks for a while, and they're just fabulous inks. But you kind of get your favorites in line, and they're lying around on your table, and you kind of get lazy and say, okay, well, I'll keep using. And lately, all I've been using is Scribo Capri Blue. Last month it was Leonardo Blue. The month before that, it was Aurora Light Blue. And you kind of forget beautiful inks like this one, the Robert Oster. It has different collections. In other words, the signature line, and then it's got the other line, which is kind of a silver branding, which I believe are the shimmering inks, which I'm not going to deal with. I may have some here actually, but they're in a different department, so to speak, in my list. Yeah, I have none here. So, oh no, here we go. Here we have one right there. So that's the signature line, but it's shimmer. Take a look at the shimmer underneath that. We won't touch this one. So we're going to choose kind of 4 colors from this, and do some swatching. Now, what should we choose? I think a popular one is this Fire and Ice. We'll take that one. Why don't we add in this purple Cosmic Swirl? We should add in a green, should we not? Sydney Harbor. Yeah, this is a real sheening ink. Sydney Darling Harbor, kind of a greenish blue. And in terms of brown, frankly, Scarlet. Oh, why don't we do this one? The Astorquiza. No, you know what? It's difficult to spell. Let's take something a little easier to spell. Toffee. Do we have a red in there somewhere? Maybe Frankly Scarlet, although I've got a feeling this is more of a brown. I just noticed I don't have a red one. There's Clay Red. Well, we'll include Clay Red. We'll do 5. How does that sound? Okay, we've picked our inks. Let me set up. Be right back. Okay, we're all set. Here's my new KIMBOR square journal and my Touma River paper. So, folded pen to do the swatching, and the Sailor Okoro with the feed to do some of the writing. So, take it one at a time. Fire and Ice. And one of the things about these bottles is it's plastic. So when you're inking your pens, if you're not careful, you can spill them. And it's one of the things that has always perhaps discouraged me from actually using these inks. I think we'll put 3 on top here. Let me just think that again. And we'll try to fit in 5 there. That's a beautiful blue. Wow. Might change my mind as to the use of these inks, let me tell you. Okay, now I gotta go really deep in. Fire and Ice was always one of the popular ones. So this is Robert OSTER. Fire and Ice. So Robert OSTER. Fire and Ice. Well, I think, folks, you're going to like this ink. Very nice. Okay. So one down. Next, Cosmic Swirl. Let me just give it a little shake. There we go. I'm going to hold the bottles in my hand because I have a tremor in my hands, and I got a feeling if I don't hold it tightly, it'll just spill. Okay, Cosmic Swirl. Well, that's not fair. We should. So let me just. It's going to take a while to dry now. That's the swatch. Hard for me to write that way. Nice purple. This KIMBOR paper is giving me some doubts so far. I don't see the Tomo River characteristics in these inks so far. They look like pretty flat. This one here, I think, is a real shimmering ink, so this will be a good test, in my view. Yeah, and it's coming down really flat. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this ink is not what I thought it was. Here, we'll put in a little more. It's going to take a little while to dry up now. I also wonder whether... Whoa, what a mess. That's not good. OSTER. And this is, what do they call it again? I'm just going to call it Sydney Arbor. I really thought this ink was one that had quite a bit of shimmer in it, but maybe I'm wrong. Because so far it's pretty flat. You also wonder whether or not these inks lose some of their properties when they just sit there on a shelf unused. That may also be a factor. Certainly, Fire and Ice is doing what it's supposed to do. And you know, early on, these are inks that I purchased early on, before all the funky inks came out, with, like, you know, Van Dieman's and Ferris Wheel. So you think they're exciting because that's what you have in terms of choice, but then when you compare to what's out there, you quickly realize that maybe they're not as exciting as you initially thought they were. Let me just dry that up properly. Okay. Whoa. I just noticed that there may be some water there that's causing a problem. Okay, let me just dip that again. I can never do this without getting myself all messed up. So, Robert Oster. What was this? Is this toffee? Yeah, toffee. Nice brown. Here we go. Let me wash that out properly. Shut that down. And of course, we've got ink all over, but it's part of the course, it's part of the fun. A little soap, and it all goes away. Okay, clay red, which I got a feeling is more of a kind of reddish brown than a red, but that's really the closest thing that I can come up with in Robert Oster. I realized I don't have any reds. Ah, there you go. It's kind of a rust. A clay. Yeah, clay red. There we go. Can't write clay red because of my position in the camera. I'm not comfortable. Whoa. There we go. Okay, managed to. Whoa! I noticed we're not in camera. That's not good, Vince. Okay, here we go. Well, nice variety in color, though. Doesn't that make a nice splash? Hey, that's really nice. So, those are the inks that I propose. We'll line them all up here. Take a nice picture for my B-roll. There we go. And you know what? We'll be right back. We're back with the dry version of these inks. What I wanted to do, this on the Tomoe River, it's still very wet, but I wanted to show you how quickly the inks dried up on this KIMBOR square paper. Pretty flat, though, when you compare it to the Tomoe River. You can see that in the Fire and Ice, you've got some shading and red sheen, which does not show up on the KIMBOR. Cosmic Swirl has got some of nice shading, which is a little flatter on the KIMBOR. Same for Robert Oster Sydney Harbor. It's shading. The shading is there, but it's just not as sharp. Same thing with Toffee, pretty flat. And same thing with Clay Red. So I'm going to write with this on the square KIMBOR just to see what the writing experience is like. But so far, it doesn't appear to perform the way I would expect Tomoe River paper to perform. And maybe they're using different paper for this one than they are for the KIMBOR Journal, because the KIMBOR Journal is for sure, unless they've changed it for 2026, but we'll do a comparison in due course of the journal itself. So there you have the inks for this week. Okay, next section of the video is my currently inked, and here they are. There's a few missing, which I'm going to add. The first one that's missing is the, where is it? my rollerball for the week. And we just reviewed or talked about my 845. Yeah, I couldn't find it because I put it back in the sleeve. I couldn't see the red. So that forms part of the pens that I used this week as well. So we'll remove that from the casing. Now, general comments. You'll remember that this week's theme, if you will, were some Indian pens. Unfortunately, what I found about, the great majority of these pens is that they dried up really quickly. And I was struggling to find one that wasn't dry. Now, oh, by the way, I did add this Visconti as well, and we'll see whether or not, I did not use it during the week, however. So I want to test them as is so that you get a proper perspective. It's been a week. It's been a couple of days. I think I found one pen that was less. It was this one, this Ranga, less dry than others. So the others didn't get a lot of use because they just within a few days dried up on me. But let's see. Okay, let's see. This is going to be a good test. Okay, let's start with the Vizier. This is the Twilight, which, by the way, is a beautiful pen, but I did notice that it did dry up on me, and let's just see if that's the case. Well, it's better than I thought. I'm going to tell you, this paper doesn't feel like Tomoe River. There's a lot of, it may be Sanson, because I feel a lot of feedback. But it is quite smooth. Just right, I think. It's not Tomoe River, but it's not slippery like Rhodia or Clairefontaine either. This is Ranga. Yeah, this is the one that got a lot of use. In fact, I re-inked this one. This is the model, I forget the model number, maybe it's 3. It's got a stub nib. Well, so far so good. Maybe I was wrong. But this one was used, so this is the Ranga Abhimanyu. And that is, I noticed there's some ink there, and let's just hope it's not. Yeah, I think the problem with this one, it was leaking a little bit. Folks, I thought I was going to get a bunch of dry pens, but so far at least, Vizier and Ranga have not disappointed. Let's take a look at this Canwright Kingfisher Heritage. Yeah, this one's a little more. So this maybe is an opportune time for me to answer one of the questions. And forgive me if I've covered this topic in previous recaps. Sometimes you forget. One of the viewers tell me, how do you deal with a dry nib? You can see that there's some skipping here, okay? So what normally I do, the first thing I do is if it totally skips, is that I just tap on it in the hope that the ink flow resumes. Failing which, if I have some water next to me, I will dip, let me just show you under camera, I will dip the nib in the water, get the capillary action going, but you do have to have some water next to you and, a towel. Wipe that off, and then hope that the flow resumes. And as you can see, now the pen is writing the way it should. Which is a broad gusher, because that nib is good, is a good one from Canwright. Really nice nib. There you have it. The other way, of course, is to prime your feed by turning the converter down and pushing the ink through the feed. You'll see a drop coming out, and that doesn't require wire, just maybe Kleenex or a towel. Just let a few drops go, and then the flow will resume, or should resume. That also gets you to see whether or not the problem is in fact that you have no more ink. Okay, this is another Canwright. This is a Canwright Legacy. Folks, I apologize because all of these pens so far are writing much better than they were during the week. So my initial theory of these Indian pens drying up on me so far is showing that I was a liar. There you go. This is the Click pen, I think. Yeah, okay, this one dried up. So here we go. Let's test it. First thing I would do is I would take the converter, push it down a little bit till I see a few drops coming out. And as you can see, the ink is kind of going all the way down, which means, there we go, now I finally got a drop, which means that sometimes the ink just stays on top and the flow is not perfect. And so what you end up having is a feed and a nib that are essentially dry because there's just no ink there. And if there's no ink, it's not going to write. Now obviously the argument is that if it had a nice flow, you wouldn't have that problem. So there's a problem somewhere. As you can see, there's none now. Click, I forget if there's a model. And it has a fountain pen revolution, or pen revolution 1.0 stub. Very nice. Nice and thick now that the ink has gone down. Next one is a Lotus Wave. I remember this drying up on me. We'll see if it's going to... Yeah, dried up on me. Now, was it because there was no ink? Let's just check. You see, there's plenty of ink. So what we'll do is we'll prime it by allowing some of the ink to flow into the bottle until I see a drop. There we go. The drop is there. Just wipe that off. But as you can see, almost half of it went away, which means that there is a flow issue. Sometimes it's not the nib that dries up, it's just that the ink doesn't appear to flow down, causing it to dry. So this is the Lotus, and as you can see, otherwise it's just a beautiful writer. This is the Lotus Wave. But you know what? I don't have those problems with ASVINEs, Wingsungs, and even Mahjong. So, well, stay tuned for my next week. I've got another theme that I'm sure you guys will like. Yeah, this may be Wallety. Yeah, Wallety. Let's just see if this... Wow. I'm looking like a real fool here. Wallety. I don't know what the model number is, but it's writing here. Now, was it because, you know, sometimes I put the case into my briefcase, and the case may be upside down, so all of the ink flows out of the feed, and then you go pick it up, and of course there's no ink. The flow is not there, and then you blame the pen. So, which is unfair. I suspect that that's exactly what happened here. This one I used. That's me here. Magna Carta. Emotions. Very nice. Don't you think? I think so. Okay. So the three intruders, when I say intruders, I mean we'll do on the next page. But in the meantime, let's just look to see if we see any feathering on this paper. Let me just push that. I saw some feathering here. Really, it just absorbs a little more, but there's no feathering per se. There is some on here, but that's the pen. You can see some there. You can see some there. So some of the inks do feather a little more on this paper. What does it look like on the other side? Because it's much thicker than the 52 GMS that I have on my... Yeah, you can see some definite... It's not ghosting. It's see-through. There's actually bleed-through. So it's not a perfect paper. Far from it. Let me see what my Visconti Voyageur does. A little bit of dryness to that nib, but it could be me. Could be just the way I turned the nib. Beautiful pen. Just a beautiful pen. I've done a review. It's going to be posted sometime soon. Now this, if this doesn't write, I'll be very disappointed. This has got a Kegeloo nib. This is the, look at that. Montefiore 845. Kegeloo. Medium nib that writes like a broad or even a double broad. Just fabulous. We'll see how this paper reacts to this very thick line. Very smooth, I got to tell you. Sometimes, you know, if the nib is a little too pointy, it kind of scratches the paper and then it helps the bleeding. This is my Omas 360 Magnum with my Schmidt rollerball. So this is Omas 360 Magnum. Very nice. We'll talk about the refills to this pen in a second in my commentary section. But glad I got this pen for 150 bucks. It's worth every penny. Worth every penny. So let's take a look at the other side for these three pens. See, my Kegeloo, surprisingly enough, which is thicker than any of the others. Let me just, you know, my Kegeloo, which really is a thicker line than any of the others, has hardly any bleed through. You see some ghosting. Same with the rollerball. You can see some ghosting with the Visconti as well. But so sometimes the nib makes a difference as well when we talk about ghosting or bleed through, especially if the nib is kind of, and the ink. Some inks perform better than others. Some inks are prone to ghosting, to feathering, for example. So there you have it. Those are my currently inked for this week, which I enjoyed plus ou moins, as they say in French. I didn't do a great job. I kind of gave up on them and stuck to just a few. So there you have it. Stay tuned for the next section. We'll ink some for next week. Okay, so here's what I've got inked up for you for this week, or for me. I decided that the theme for this week would be all the non-main brand Chinese pens. So there's no Jinhaos, Wing Sungs, ASVINEs, Mahjong Moonman. It's the other brands that are not as mainstream, if you will, ASVINE, if I didn't mention it. And we'll go through them one at a time. I think I've got quite a few of the categories. And we will add to it this brand new ASVINE P20 to test out that new 1.1 stub nib. So here we go. So let's start with the first one. We've got 3 lemon pens. Now, some would argue that it is mainstream. I don't think so. I think they just have 4 or 5 models over the years. This one is the Lemon M1 with this huge architect nib. So 1 second, I think we should just close up a little more. Okay, we'll put that right there so we get to appreciate each of the pens. Okay, so this is the Lemon. As you can see, it's very, very thick line. It's kind of a broad, if not a double broad. M1, I would say double broad architect nib. Very, very broad. Piston filler. Then we have the Lemon M2S. This got a Bach nib. I've come to the conclusion that I don't like Bach fine nibs. They're so stiff that the writing experience is not. Don't get me wrong, they write, but it just the writing experience is awful. Well, at least that's my point of view anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Lemon M5. With that lemon hand polished, as they call it. Whoa, it's leaking. I just inked this, so I may not have dried the ink. But that's a nice one. There we go. The ink is not the best choice. I picked I think it's Ostrich Light Blue, which is very dry. But it gives you that nice shading, if you will. This is probably my favorite lemon pen. Unfortunately, to decide to copy. But it's got 5 stars instead of 6. I'm not sure that excuses anything, but this is the Lemon M6. Again, with that hand polished M nib. Really, really nice. What I like about this pen is that it's made out of acrylic and not metal, so it's nice and light. And yeah, inspired, you would say, but writes very well. So that's it for the lemon. Next I have Trammell, who have just, you know, a couple of pens on the market, not much. This is the, sorry, Trammell. I guess I just have to call it the vacuum filler. It is a little bit like the Opus 88, just a smaller. Again, it's got a Bach fine, which I hate. I think I'm going to get rid of this nib. It's just awful. I just don't like writing with them. But there you have it. That's the Trammell Opus 88 inspired, but much thinner. But works very nicely. It's a nice vacuum filler. Trammell, we've got another Trammell. This is, they call it the lion, just because of the motif on this pen. Kind of a dual-fold inspiration. It has a Yowo nib. Now, you can see it has a fine Yowo, and again, much better than the Bach, in my view. At least that's my opinion. For some reason, it just, the writing experience feels so different. Then we have my favorite of the Trammells, which is this Pro Gear inspiration, if you will. They call it the Coffee Cream. I put in it a Joya. It came with I think a Schmidt broad nib, which is just gorgeous. I mean, those nibs are great, but I changed up and I put the Joya branded Yowo broad nib on this. So this is the Trammell. I just noticed there's some, okay, there was some just fabric on the nib. Trammell, sorry, Coffee Cream, I think it is, or cream. It's a Pro Gear. It's called a spade. It's a Pro Gear clone. But when you look at it, you think it's cheap. But the resin on this thing, or the plastic, or the acrylic is just fabulous. It feels like an expensive acrylic. Very nice pen. One of my favorite Chinese pens. And writes very nicely. Next, let me just push this over so I have enough room, is this Banju Ferris wheel. I guess Ferris wheel is probably here, with a number 5 nib, but which writes spectacularly. It's got kind of a sailor feedback. You know, again, it's a fine, but the writing experience is so different. And sometimes you can't underestimate those little number 5 nibs. They can be really surprising, and this is one of them. Next, this is a nice pen. This is the Tagmoon Booker.cr Cologne Cathedral homage. Very nice pen. Really soft nib. So this is the Tagmoon Cologne Cathedral. And there's also in the mix this other branding of, is it Booker or Brooker? I think it's Booker. .cr. I'm not sure what that stands for, but very nice flexi nib. Not flexi, springy nib. Okay, that's the Tagmoon. Next is this Natami. It's the only Natami that I own. I know they have a couple of models out. This is the Natami Warship. or super warship, I think they call it. Actually, I have it here. Yeah, super warships, so I missed the super. But again, a fine nib that has just a slight spring to it that gives it that non-balk feeling, put it this way. And I think it's, it's an in-house nib. It's certainly not a nib that I recognize. Okay, let's go to the other. Actually, we can right here. This is one of my favorite Chinese pen models. I think I was one of the first to introduce or review the ADMOC M800. And I think it's been popular ever since. Not because of me, but just because people have realized how nice these pens are. M800. It's a Pelican M800 clone. Pretty close clone, I can tell you that. To the point where I've taken one of these and replaced the nib with an actual Pelican nib, and I have an M800. This has that Schmidt nib. Gusher, it's broad. You can see that. These nibs are just fabulous, folks. If you have any pens that offer this as the nib option, don't hesitate. Some of the best nibs out there, steel nibs that is. Some would say even better than Yobo and Bach. In the same line, which is the ADMOC M800, I have a roller ball. Isn't that beautiful resin? So that's a roller ball. So this is the ADMOC M800. So that will be my roller ball for the week. One thing, folks, that I've realized is that I've forgotten how to write with a ballpoint or a roller ball. When you write with fountain pens, almost exclusively, these types of writing instruments kind of become foreign to you. Okay, so that's the themed. Wow, that was the drop there. Let me just go to the next page. Wow, it went right through. Okay, doesn't matter. I want to take a look at this nib, which is the ASVINE 1.1. Let's take a look at it because I'm not sure I'm going to do a standalone video on just that nib. I may combine it with a comparison video, but there you have it, 1.1. Now, when I look at the tipping, it appears to be very cursive, as opposed to being, extremely italic. But maybe I'm wrong. Really looking forward to inking this, and not inking, writing with this. So here we go. This is the, wow. I was purposely quiet because I wanted you to hear nothing. This thing is so smooth. And yes, it's cursive. It's not italic. I've got it inked up with Dieman or Dieman Emerald. You can see the line variation is really nice. Very wet. Very smooth. very constant or consistent. Sorry about that. Does it have reverse writing? I would say not. Skips and it doesn't flow very nicely, but 10 on 10 for this nib, folks. Wow. ASVINE has come through again. I don't know. I don't know how some other pen manufacturers who have steel nibs can compete with this. I mean, the pens are beautiful. There's a variety of, filling systems. This one's a piston filler. You have some of the ASVINEs that are beautiful vacuum fillers. You have some of the ASVINEs that are, cartridge converters. You've got number 8 nibs. You've got number 6 nibs. In the number 8, you have fine, medium. I think you have extra fine, fine, medium, and then the 1.1. And now you have the same thing with the number 6. Both Yowo, Bock, Schmidt, and some of the other pen manufacturers have got to be worried. I mean, these pens are just, I don't know. I don't know how much this cost me. I'll put it up on the screen, but I think it's like $35. The pen is beautiful. It's got some gorgeous resin. Let me just go back to my overhead camera. I mean, we've seen the P20, but take a look at this resin. The quality is fabulous. It's got a wheel for the clip. The clip works fine. It's got perfectly integrated bands. Nothing is sticking out. Everything works fine. It opens up in how many? 1, 1.5, 2. Oh, takes a little longer, but I gotta tell you, I just really hard to beat. I mean, when you look at this writing sample, just fabulous. It's gonna be one of. I'm glad I'm getting the V126, but I might just add another P20 or maybe another V126 with that 1.1 stub. Hopefully it'll come out with the nibs. I think eventually they will. I know the others are available, so I don't see why they won't make the 1.1 eventually available once they've cashed in on getting you to buy the pen with it. I think they'll offer it, and then I'll switch all my ASVINE nibs to this 1.1 stub. I can't say enough about how good this new nib is. So there you have it. ASVINE number 6 steel 1.1 stub. Stay tuned for the next section of this video. Okay, the next section is questions and answers, commentary, and maybe some miscellaneous stuff that I wanted to bring across or have your comments on. First question is, one of the viewers asked me to take a look at the Hongdian A7, was wondering whether or not this pen has dry nib issues. So why don't we go to my overhead camera and we'll take a look. First of all, this is the version of the pen that I have. This is kind of the original versions that came out. They've since solved the problem. This thing just unscrewed or is not glued properly, so it kind of a little bit has a defect. I have not glued it because I want to maintain it so when I can show it. It has that special nib, Hongdian nib, and I've not played around with this for about a week, so let's see if we have a dry nib issue. Not bad. It's an architect nib that's on this pen. I would say to that viewer that it's not bad, although Hongdian pens do have a, generally speaking, I find that they dry up quicker than Mahjons, Wing Sungs, and ASVINEs. But this one certainly met the test. A week without writing, and it just writes beautifully. So that's the first question. Second question I had was, oh yes, the Montefiore. One of the viewers mentioned that the Montefiore pens. Now you saw my 845. You have this big, it was known as JD originally. Now it's Montefiore. That's the custom Pilot Custom Marushi, the big one, the P30, I forget what they call it. They do also have a 149 clone. Here it is. Yes, I do have it. I mean, I think it's a clunker. It's very heavy, and there's nothing special about this one. The viewer did like the nib that it wrote really nicely, so I thought I mentioned that. Yeah, there's another Montefiore, so I think there's 3 of them now. There's the 845, this one in different colors. I also have it in, the big one, I also have it in green. Okay, but they are big, heavy Chinese pens. I have no illusions. Now, what else do I have? How to prime a feed. I think I've covered that. Oh, yes. OMAS refills. Okay, for my OMAS pen, let me just get my refills. One of the viewers asked, where do you get the refills for your OMAS Magnum 360? Let me just, for this thing. I got them, they're Schmidt refills, so if you turn the knob here, there's the refill. They're Schmidt 8120s. You can find these, but what I found, in order to accommodate this particular pen, I needed to shave off a little section. So if I compare it to a brand new one, this is my refill box. This is a brand new one, and you see what I had to do is I had to shave off, and it's kind of got 2-3 layers. It maybe is made that way so that you can with a knife. Now, it's not the greatest shaving. I could have done a better job, but you get this gist. You need to kind of cut out part of it in order for it to fit properly. However, there is on the OMAS Bologna site a Schmidt nib that accommodates this pen. It's made for the 360, and I'll put that up on the screen for you to take a look at and you can compare it to the one that's on the screen. You could see that the section has already been cut off. So that answers that question for that viewer, I hope. I think the viewer got back to me to say that he also found other sources and found other solutions, but just generally speaking, that's, I think, of interest. That you would think that this kind of vintage pen may no longer have available refills, but it does. So there you have it. Just a great, great pen. I'm so happy I got this. There you go. So that's the OMAS refill question. The next question I have for you. Oh, yes. One of the viewers asked about some questions about this particular pen offering. Let me tell you what it is. And I want to make sure I do this right and not confuse people. If you go on AliExpress and you search Ultim PEI pen, you'll get a series of pens, and maybe I'll put up on the screen just a snapshot of what I see. And these are the pens that you end up, and maybe others, but yeah, there may be others, but these are the ones I purchased. Let me just tell you what they are. First of all, this one is a fountain pen with a titanium clip. It's got TI written right on it, or T1. No, TI. Screw and cap with a Schmidt nib. Okay. And this one is similar, except I ordered this by accident, except it's a roller ball. So they do have it in ballpoint or roller ball. But as you can see, it's a little bit shorter, and the cap is a little bit shorter. And the importance of that will become obvious in a second. Then they have this pocket pen, okay? Again, screw in with a number 5 size Schmidt nib. Problem with this cap is that without this clip, when you post it, it kind of turns easily, so it's very slippery. I mean, you know, maybe it's me, but you know, when I move around with it, it kind of turns and is very distracting. The solution I found for it, and maybe just my pen, mind you, that's a little loose, is that if I put that clip just down, it kind of prevents it from being too loose, and it solves the problem. But one of the viewers asked, can you replace this cap? And maybe that's the reason why he's asking, with one of these caps, and vice versa. So what we'll do is we'll take the fountain pen cap and see if it posts, if it can be screws onto the, and it does. And it gives you another looking pen. And when you cap it, or when you post it, it posts not deeply, but securely, and it's fairly light because it's Ultim. So to answer the viewer, yes, they're interchangeable. So that's the fountain pen. Let's look at whether or not this cap from the, and you can see the cap is a little bit shorter than the fountain pen, from the roller ball. There you go. Got a pocket pen. And does it post? Yes, it does. Like the other one. Posts very comfortably. So the answer is yes. And vice versa, I think you can take this cap from the pocket pen and it will screw into, no, it won't. It just barely sucks in, but it doesn't, no, it doesn't fit. So it doesn't go vice versa. However, let's just put these caps back to their original pen. Question becomes whether or not you can mix these two, because they are, this one's made out of Ultim and this one's made out of titanium. So, and it's kind of a Kaweco style pen. And yes, it screws in. So you can combine Ultim and titanium, and vice versa. You can take the barrel and combine a barrel with the titanium cap. And the advantage with this is that this one, yeah, you see it's loose. Same problem. Same problem. But you can, and does it accommodate the pen? The fountain pen? Let's just see. Should. No, it doesn't. Yeah, just like the other one, it doesn't. But you can put the caps of the standard pens on the titanium barrel. So there's some interchangeability with these. It comes from the same manufacturer, so it's not a surprise. But to answer that viewer, oh, by the way, while we're at it, why don't we see, now I've opened these pens, so hopefully they will write, but let's see how these pens write. My last experience with these pens is that they've been inked for months now. I've not used these pens for literally months. Let's just see if they write. So this is the Ultim. Look at that. PEI. This is a standard fountain pen. Just fabulous. And that Schmidt nib, Wow, much better. I mean, that's a Schmidt number 6 sized fine, and you can't compare it to the Bach. Bach is, to me, is just not in the picture, as they say. Let's see if this pocket pen, this is the Ultim PI pocket pen. Yeah, and you see, it bothers me because it slips. Pocket pen, fountain pen, again with that Schmidt nib, writes beautifully. Not expensive for an Ultim pen. I won't bother with the roller ball, but let's just see this titanium. Yeah, at least this one kind of sits there, which is very nice weight, by the way. Look at that. This is the titanium PI pen, pocket pen. Very nice. So it gave me an opportunity to kind of revisit these pens and realize why is it that I'm not using them. And at the same time, I answered that viewer's question. So there you have it, the inexpensive Ultim PEI and titanium pens on AliExpress. Now, very quickly, because I know I'm running a little bit late here, I think the video's a bit longer than normal, and they're long as it is. I just want to try out those Canwright supposedly number 8 nibs that are really Indian number 8, which are not what we're used to or in the North American market in any event. I want to try them out, and these are ebonite feeds, and they need to be heat setted, and they're very finicky pens. But so I won't ink them per se. I will just dip them, just so that I could test the nibs. This is one of them. This is a medium, I believe. I got to say, nothing wrong with this nib, but it's not a number 8. That's that one. Let's test this, what they call vintage Canwright. Vintage Rico, I believe they call it. Yeah, there's really nothing special about these nibs. Sorry, but I think the modern Canwright are even better than this. So there you have it. I think I just spent the money for nothing. Stay tuned. Okay, so the next section is YouTube reviews. Well, first of all, YouTube reviews and videos that I think are worthy of mention, here they are. First of all, Inquiring Minds proceeds to demonstrate the disassembly of the P140, I believe it is, that brand new offering, or the P141, sorry. Is this the P140 or the 141? Let me just... Yeah, the P141. Because he proves indeed that in this offering the piston is not all brass. Part of it is brass and part of it is plastic or rubber, as compared to the P140. So if you want to see how to disassemble that pen, both the nib and the piston mechanism, check out Inquiring Minds. Second things, Wonders Unlocked does a test between the Moonman P or the Majon P140 feed and the ASVINE C2000 feeds, which look like ebonite, and he draws some conclusions as to which ones are plastic and which ones are indeed ebonite. And I think he comes to the conclusion that and now I forget which, so I'll let you look at the video, but I should remember, I forget which one is in fact ebonite and which one isn't. So I don't want to mislead you, but if you want to figure it out, take a look at the video. There you go. Sorry about that. Yusika videos as a whole episode on the new Abunichi. So if you're interested in the Obunichi, they kind of go through the various options, etc. So that's always interesting. Stationary Scholar looks at the new Legacy. I've wondered whether or not the new Schaefer Legacy is worthwhile purchasing. I have my doubts. I have my vintage Legacies. I have 2 of them. I think I will stick with that. But those of you who are questioning and have questions, take a look at that video. That might provide some information for you. And last but not least, there is Blake's Broadcast that reviews that beautiful Eureka pen with that very special Sean Design look-alike nib. And apart from being very interesting nib, I'm not sure where I can get it. It looks like you no longer can get it on the Eureka website. I'd love to get my hands on one of those nibs, or a pen with one of those nibs. If you guys have any information, maybe it's available elsewhere, maybe I'm missing something, please let me know. If you've got that nib, let me know. Is it worthwhile? I understand it's a stiff nib, but very unique and very pleasant. So let me know if you've got it, so that if ever it pops up again, I think I'm going to buy one. So there you have YouTube reviews worthy of mention. What about myself? Well, you've seen my video on if you haven't, here they are. You have my video on the Montefiore 845, and you also have my last week's recap. And upcoming are some, perhaps they're going to be that Voyager Visconti is going to be in the mix, and there may be others in the mix. There's also not ASVINE, but Ongdian nib comparison that I would like to get up eventually. And I've got a bunch of pens coming in, so they might just push things along in any event. So there you have it in terms of what's new or what's there for my Fountain Pen Therapy channel. Folks, that brings this recap to an end. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. I'd like to get my subscriptions up. I'm almost 8,000. I'm almost there. It would be wonderful if I can get to the 10,000 by the year end. So if you have not subscribed, please do. It helps the channel. Doesn't cost you a thing. And as Hemingway Jones says, it helps to keep the lights on, and it inspires me to keep going. So there you have it. Have a great week. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your pens, and be well.